All right. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are doing amazing. I hope you had an amazing week. It's not pretty much been a very eventful week, but I hope it went all the best for everyone. I hope the markets did get to reward you guys accordingly to your efforts as well. Oh. All right. Good morning, guys. I hope you guys are good and doing amazing. I also do hope the markets did reward you guys well. So it's a brand new, it's the last day of the week, and I would like to see what the market moves have been. I would expect how the market is definitely going to close up. And what can anticipate, in the today's London and New York session take us through and close the week on the good side of the markets. So first and foremost, we are going to just go in and look at our trading calendars. So, and what major headlines you can expect. As I've said, or as you may know, it hasn't been quite a very eventful week, I must say. There hasn't been a lot of fundamentals to push the week through. Like we had the last week and the week before that, where we saw a lot of volatility being caused by, of course, the NFP, the CPI, and then, of course, interest rate decisions the week prior to that. So other than that, let's start trading economics and look at what opportunities or what can be able to cause volatility to today's markets as well. In the meantime, if you're in Kenya and Nairobi, don't forget we do have a bullish banter event coming up, and of course that the debate that's going to be there is are prop firms are better than real capital, or is it the other way around? So it's going to be a number of panelists that you don't want to miss out on sharing their insights on what they think is the best for what traders and why they believe that's the case. So feel free to sign up for that event as well. The link is in the description box. And one more thing again you need to remember is that we also do have a special webinar that we host every single month. For the guys that were in for the last webinar, I believe you enjoyed it. Where we see those moves playing out in the different markets we had broken down. So once again, we do have one next week on Tuesday on the 24th. So feel free to sign up for it. It's called the Dollar Direction Guide. And as you may know, the dollar is the most dominant currency pair across different instruments. That's the most traded as well, right? So usually being able to break down its moves or its long-term perspective is a very good step ahead of being on the safe side of the market in simple terms, right? It's a very good step in being on the safe side in the market. Last year we saw the similar trends dictating not just the dollar but a lot of dollar-related instruments. So this year, as long as you're in the Trump regime, don't expect the notion to be any much different. So in this one, we are going to be breaking down what these trends were. Now you can start capitalizing and looking for opportunities based on what we saw the dollar do or what we're anticipating to happen on the dollar. So on the Tuesday webinar, the link will also be there on our link in bio, so you can be able to sign up for it as well. Now, looking at our forex calendar over here, now we can see this Friday, February 20th. Early in the morning, we did have the inflation rate coming in from Japan. We do have we had the retail sales coming in from the pound or Britain, and of course, England did have the HCOB manufacturing PMI that should be coming out in I think 3 minutes or so. For guys that are trading the euro pairs, we want to watch out for that. The forecast is 49.1, slightly a decrease. The forecast is 49.8. 49.8, the consensus is 49.5. We're waiting for the action to see if it can be able to help the euro gain in a bit and try and recover over the dollar. So later on in the day, we do have the core PCE price index month over month. That's an interesting figure you want to look out for, because it does help contribute to what the inflation would look like going into next month, or it also contributes to the CPI data you'll be able to see coming in. So that's the core PCE price index month of month, but we're looking at the month of December. We're looking at the month of December. So the only difference that when it comes to this, we don't really expect it to change so much. So you can see the forecast is 0.2%, and so is the previous. We shall have the personal income statements coming in for the month of December as well, and the personal spending for the month of December. These are just how would I call them? They're also news events, but they tend to contribute a lot to the inflation figures. But these are for the month of December. These are for the month of December. So at the end of the day, they are red folders, but don't really expect sort of movement or very severe movement in the markets. So you can be able to just know that at 4:30 we do have a major news events coming in. So you can decide whether to take the trends or stay out of the market as well. So coming into the side of on our dashboard, I want to go to analysis over here. I want to go to analysis over here. Then I want to look at our signal center. Let's look at the market calendar. Look at what what pairs could heavily be affected by these news events, and where can we look for opportunities as far as our signal center is giving us some opportunities. So let me just load this up a little bit. Why is this taking so long? No, the network is acting up a little bit. Let's first be looking at any other headlines inside. One more thing you may want to look out for is probably going to be the tension between the Iran and US. But still anticipating a possibility of there being an altercation or a possible kind of, I don't call it a war, but something of the sort, right? So that anticipation is there based on the current situation between Iran and the USA. And of course, Trump hasn't ruled out the possibility of any of that happening. So you want to be very careful for power trading, especially gold, especially trading gold. You want to be very careful in those regards. Right, this is taking so long to load. I'm going to leave that on that side. So European stocks rise as markets weigh in PMI data. Okay, so the figure for the German PMI flash came at 53.4, which is I think higher than anticipated, which is good for the euro, which is a bit of strength. Dollar index hits a 4-week high. So you're seeing the dollar index on a recovery. We are going to break this down a bit on the charts and see how best we can be able to capitalize on the dollar moves. We are seeing a bit of a dollar recovery as anticipated, going in to close the quarter. So we'd like to see how well we can push that dollar recovery. So that's hit a 4-week high, and we expect to be a bit more in a recovery as well. That's something we're going to anticipate to happen on that side of the dollar index. So besides that, since we have no major news events today, I'm going to go down to the charts. Then we can now start looking at what insights or what market opportunities we can be able to outsource from today's current markets. Good morning, dear Pastor Julius. How are you doing? Let me just share my empty file screen. No, empty file. Morning, Alfred. Morning, Kelvin. Just a minute to share, okay? The screen is up. All right, so as usual, I like starting with the dollar index. Then we can look at what the dollar index is looking like and what outlook we can get from the dollar index. So let's get rid of this. We're talking about this recovery happening within these areas. Yeah, so price came down onto this black line as we had marked. We had that breakout, small retest push into this demand level here. Then price came back, gave us another retest of this level. then eventually broke above, targeting this zone right here as we anticipated, the zone above. Price is now coming to that supply level, right? We can expect some bit of corrections on this. Let's just have a much more cleaner chart, then we can break that down a bit more. Okay, so it's a 4-hour time frame. I'm going to zoom it out a little bit. So we're going to zoom this out a little bit, then look at the general perspective on this market. So you can see recovery is still going on. We had an impulsive push to the downside, but now price has come back to this first supply level here. It's trying to tap into it. We haven't quite tapped into it, but you can see price rejecting the zone around it. So what I would be anticipating is going to be some bit of a pushback down, and the dollar trying to gain in a little bit, as you can see has happened already. When I come to the 1-hour time frame, we're seeing a bit of bearish momentum. Now, if I look for selling opportunities, what you want to look out for is for price to actually go below the support level that has been availed over there. So let's just mark out that support level. Let's mark it out this way here. So once price is still above this or within this area, you can look for buying opportunities. But if price breaks above it, then we shall want to wait for price to come all the way down into this zone to be my best buying area. Now below that area, you can be able to sell, or you can look for selling confirmations. Below this, you can look for a bit of bearish confirmations. I wouldn't advise you to first fight this momentum. It's good to first play along with the momentum in the meantime. So you don't want to take these sells. You'd want to wait for price to come into this zone, then you can take buys of confirmations. I think some people would prefer bullish, some candlestick confirmations. Some people would prefer structure confirmations. So whichever confirmation you prefer to use, you can be able to use it once price gets to those respective zones. Whichever confirmation you decide to use can always work when price gets to those respective zones. So as I said, that this level that acts as a support level. Why I'm taking it as a support level is because when I draw a line along this, I realize price rejects a couple of times, so it's still a good support level. So my first alternative would be for price to come down here, get into this zone here, then give me, of course, a bullish confirmation or a bullish candlestick pattern that can confirm that the dollar index is going higher, because we haven't quite gotten into our zone. So these are the first two trade ideas we'll have based on how that dollar is looking like. This is just a dollar index. We're looking at the perspectives, other ways in which it could move. One more thing you're going to mark is going to be now the resistance that price has formed here. So you can see this, that price has formed some kind of strong zone around this. Where I'll go with a strong zone, or I call it a strong zone, because you see price comes and turns from here, comes back and just taps a little bit, taps again, comes back with this bullish candle aggressively. This goes in, tries to sweep it, but then comes back down with a lot of bearish momentum, making that a good resistance zone. So that thing you want to do would be to buy above this, but because we have this supply level on the 4-hour right above this, so the buys inside here would not be very valid. You want to wait for price to get back into this 4-hour zone, then you can definitely look for bearish opportunities within that. That would be the other outlook you'd look at. That's would be the other perspective in which you may want to look at that. So this is the dollar index, right? So there's a possibility of a correction move through the day, and then the dollar index going higher, and you can tend to correlate this with the dollar index, and as well with the dollar related pairs like Euro USD and GBP USD. So let's move on to Euro USD. Let's move into Euro USD and see what it's looking like, and see if actually does align with what the dollar index is showing us. So it's a 4-hour time frame. This is a 4-hour time frame. If you look at the weekly candle, it has been so bearish. Remember, I anticipated there could be a correction on this pair here as the dollar strengthens. And our correction, we want it to come at least 50% of this zone here. We marked this out, I think last Monday? Last week on Monday, right? We said if we get a correction move, we would like it to come at least below 50% of this area here, which is this over here. So we realize that price hasn't quite achieved that yet. So that means there's still room for it to continue selling. But as you can see, this is not a low time frame. It's a weekly time frame. So we're going to break this down a little bit. We normally look for bullish opportunities right around these areas here. In the meantime, I'm going to look for more bearish setups in this case scenario. So when I do this, around the 50%, what am I going to notice? I have a demand level that actually doubles in, it taps on my 50% level before price goes up. Then in this case scenario, price gives me a small break of structure right around this, right? Then my demand level actually aligns perfectly around my 50% level. Now this is where I'll tend to have it from, like this. Now I realize that with this as well, almost similar to the dollar index, price tries to tap on the zone a little bit, then tries to buy away. So I'm going to mark that zone and see. Let's go to the 4-hour time frame. So in the 4-hour time frame, we're going to say this was our breakout on the daily. And on the 4-hour time frame, we're seeing an area responsible for that breakout. This is the zone responsible for that breakout. And so where price currently is actually rejected. You can look at the rejections happening within that demand level. Now those kinds of zones improve on the visibility of the market. Let's do this. I hope that's much better. So now this demand level here, I think for the guys who have been to the academy, we call it a type 1 demand level. Price comes back into it on my 30-minute time frame. And now I want to see if I have confirmations for a bullish market. So I'll go down to the 30-minute time frame and see what's happening. So as my demand level from the far left on the 4-hour time frame, then now this is the price action happening when price got back into that particular zone. So I know that where price currently is, I'm going to notice that here it had a bit of difficulty. Difficulty breaking below this. So it means that there was some kind of a strong zone. There's some kind of strong zone around this. Usually it's a support level and it comes from a SNR called an open close level, right? So price is practically just rejecting this zone here or that level there. It's the one holding price support, right? Now for this support to actually help us go all the way bullish, we're going to use the power of confluence, right? We're going to use the power of confluence. Based on I'm seeing the price action here, I'm going to realize I have a downtrend there, right? I have a downtrend or a nice trend line. Now when I draw a trend line in, I'm going to look for other zones that could be the nearest or that could be the nearest resistance areas. So I realize that I have this zone here. Let's mark it out perfectly. From the left hand side, price comes and does this. Now that zone there is actually my demand level. Sorry, my resistance level, right? So with resistance, what do you want to expect? You want to expect price to break above this, probably tap into the supply level here, sell back a little bit of correct, and then push us to the upside. So Euro USD is what I would want to look out for. In simple terms, I want to see price give me something of that nature. Then I can now look for my bullish confirmations and my bullish trading opportunities in regards to that particular pair. That's Euro USD, right? So this is my perspective on Euro USD, and that's where I would want to look at it from. My confirmations will come from a 5-minute time frame. When price comes back to this new support level that will be formed, I'll look for a 5-minute time frame to give me a shift pattern. So this side is Euro USD. So as you can see, just like with Euro USD, this keep USD. So as you can see with Euro USD, price was on an uptrend for quite a period of time, and then most recently gave us this impulsive breakout, and then tried to give us a correction move, right? So you can see the correction move coming into play. And what do we expect with these breakout zones? We say that we want price to come at least 50% of that breakout zone. So let's just mark out the breakout first. So if I have that as my breakout, I want to bring my Fibonacci tool. Sorry. Then I draw it from this high until the low, right? So I'm going to come in and mark my 50% level, which is there, right? So now having marked the 50%, I can get rid of the Fibonacci tool. So I need demand levels or areas of interest below that blue line, right? I mean, it's the breakout. I need areas of interest or I look for opportunities below the blue line because it's my discounted price levels. So when I zoom this in, I'm going to notice that there's a demand level right around here, right? So that's going to be my first priority demand level to take my opportunities from. So that's the demand level we have right around the 50%, and I'm anticipating for price now go to lower time frames and give me what we call bullish confirmations or confirmations to look for a buy within that, right? All right, so let's look at this on a 1 hour time frame. So you can realize that within this zone of ours, or this demand level here, we're having some bit of support being formed. Price is having difficulty breaking below this zone here, right? Below this zone here. And what you're going to notice carefully is going to be that even above here, price comes down impulsively or without a momentum, then it forms this zone. You can look at the number of times price rejects it or tries to retest it, right? So to get the best possible opportunity, because we're in a bullish area of interest, I would like to see a breakout to the upside, price push back either into the zone or at the breakout zone, breakout level, and give me those bullish opportunities or to push to the upside. So this is what I want to look out for now on our time frame. So through days London, we don't have the volatility yet. Usually now, like I will have news like the core PCE, it's probably something you expect to give that kind of momentum to either push you up or push you lower, just in case. But right now, because we're in a bullish area of interest, we are going to look out for this particular movement to help try and push us to the upside. So you're going to see that even this perspective is a bit similar to your USD where you're looking for buying opportunities. As you can see, we want a breakout of this resistance, retest, and a push to the upside. So the perspectives are very, very similar with GPUSD, so that trades I would want to look out for going today. So moving on a bit further, let's look at USD So for the guys that are in last week, not this week, last week on Monday, these are some of the zones we had. Zones from the week before that, when the breaker retest. Then last week we had these movements. You can see the push down to come back and rebalance this demand level. Now price is showing us that wants to go a bit higher rate. All right, so this is the 4-hour time frame on USDJPY. Let me change these colors to normal defaults. Okay, so this is the 4-hour time frame. We can start for quite some time. The pair has been really to the downside. Can have the trend line 1, 2, 3. Of course, possibly price to come and give us a fourth touch. So we can look at where this pair has been coming from on the 4-hour time frame. We did have a support level that was really strong. So you can have that support level there. It was a strong support level, right? Now, just like what we have seen previously, what you want to look out for is going to be what happens if price happens to respect this area. Here we have formed a resistance, and what happens? Price breaks out of that resistance and continues pushing to the upside. Now that's something that we have just seen on the previous, let me see, with GPUSD, similar structure, right? Very, very similar structure. Now, sorry, on USDJPY. Now on USDJPY, we can see a similar thing trying to pan out or play out. And where the one target is going to be this zone in between. So price has practically already got into the zone, but that's the first zone you would really want to target in simple terms. Then probably price can go through it if it comes high momentum and respect the second one. Let's break down to a 30-minute time frame and see what's going on. So as you can see, we're having a strong bullish momentum. So what I would like to see sometimes when price closes above this red candlestick, that means it has fully engulfed it, and it's called a type 1 supply level or demand level based on what trade you're going to take. But it's a type 1 supply or demand level. So what you want to see is a small retest into that zone there. Sometimes it will be a couple of candlesticks, sometimes it will just be one candlestick retesting and then pushing to the upside. So that's what you want to look out for. The momentum is really high, and the momentum usually in these areas, the first area can easily get violated. So don't take it as a must. That if I have two zones, the first zone will always be violated. And by the way, guys, if there's a pair you'd like us to look out for, you can drop the pair in the chat section, in the chat here, in the chat. Then you can break it down as well. So from there, let's look at gold. Where is my gold? Over here. Let's look at the gold chart. Alright, so this is the H4 or for our gold chart. I'm going to first zoom it out a little bit so general market structure or the general perspective of the market. So understand price created a high a few weeks back, then began selling aggressively on a USD Sorry, this on gold, on gold. Created a high and then began falling aggressively or massively to the downside. So what you're seeing right now is that we have a resistance level here that has really been strong from the week of NFP. It's been a very strong resistance zone, as you can see. Price has been failing to actually break above that zone. What is that price came and gave us some corrections, respect the demand level here on the 4-hour time frame. And now it comes and gives us this shift to the upside. And once again, we're having a similar structure to GBP USD and Euro USD. We are seeing that kind of consolidation trying to happen. And here it's happening midway that trend. What happens here, we shall mark that support and resistance. So if our resistance formed, then now we can mark our support level. So as you can see, we have seen our breakout of that level there on the 4-hour time frame, which means we want to be mostly bullish and look for ways of probably targeting this supply level that aligns with our 4-hour resistance. It's a very strong resistance. Price has rejected it a number of times, as you can see. Even before it broke to the downside, it rejected the level. We have a candlestick that comes and rejects that particular level there. Then even after the breakout, price comes and this first sell here comes off a similar level. So what I want to do now is to go to a 30-minute time frame and see how best I can continue the momentum. Remember, trend should be your friend. You never want to actually fight the trend or the momentum. You can have a bias well and good, but it's very important to not fight the momentum when it comes to the market. So when I come to this, let's look for a time frame. Window chart shift. Okay, there. So usually I will see price give us the break from this area here, give us a nice retest. So that once now, because I don't have a break yet, is to have an actual break. Then upon retest, I can now look for my bullish confirmation when price gives me a retest. I have a bullish confirmation now push price to the upside. So that's something I would want to look out for in regards to what our gold is moving like today. On a 30-minute time frame, of course. And of course, my confirmations on gold will be on the 5-minute time frame. So my confirmations on gold will be on the 5-minute time frame. In the meantime, guys, don't forget you can drop the pairs you'd like us to look at in the chat section. Feel free to drop them in and you can see if you can look at them. This is gold. We have looked at Euro USD, JP USD, USD JPY and gold. Just a minute. See what pair can look at. What USD, or JPY. One of those should be somewhere around here. All right, so here we have our odd USD. Here we have odd USD or Australian dollar and the US dollar itself. So on the 4-hour time frame, it has been in a sideways movement, kind of like a consolidation, right? In a sideways movement, kind of like a consolidation. That's the movement it has been in of late. We saw an impulsive push to the downside, then price goes into this consolidation that looks like a correction. So these corrections, usually where do they end? They end up around demand levels. So they tend to end around demand levels, right? Around demand levels. So you see price does this lower lows, lower highs within this price channel, taps into this demand level and starts pushing to the upside. Then that's what the market is doing. I'm going to look at the 30-minute time frame. So here we have 30-minute time frame. Price already came and tapped into our zone. Now it's pushing back up. Now, if I'm going to take buy opportunities, what am I going to look out for? I'm going to look out for a nice resistance level first. So we have that resistance level there, right? So what you want to see is price break out that resistance level, and then you can now start factoring in bullish opportunities or bullish markets insights, or come up a bullish bias on odd USD. I think by now we have seen the similar bias with dollar-related pairs, except USD JPY that's looking otherwise, but it broke correlation sometime last week after after the interest rate was hiked in Japan. We now saw a correlation between the dollar and the Japanese yen change a little bit. So that happened, I think, sometime last week. So let's move in and look at US 30. Someone asked for US 30. US 30 roll. Okay. Okay, so this is a US 30 chart. So as you can see, price came in impulsively all the way down here. And from down here, we're seeing multiple projections to the downside. Price is trying to give us some kind of like a reversal. Basically, because we do have quite a big number of imbalance here, so price may want to come in and balance up this imbalance here. And of course, that means it has to reverse on this time frame to come back to this zone here, and then give you selling opportunities. So looking what the market currently is, we're going to see a support level down here where the market or where buyers kept coming in multiple occasions. We have this zone here, and it's 1, 2, 3 touches, which is very, very okay. 12 those 3 touches on your area, on your support or resistance level, right? On your support or resistance level, then price began pushing to the upside. Now, for me, what I'm seeing that I have 1, 2, 3 levels now because price already came back into this first level here with a week. I'm going to look at the other two supply levels there as my areas of interest. So we have the first one, that's this. Then we have a second zone. That's this right there. So those are my areas of interest where I really want to see price going to for US 30. These indices have been bearish for quite some time. Low US 30 has been having periods when it's very, very bullish and pushing aggressively. Basically because the US 30 index only tracks 30 companies, right? And meanwhile, the NASDAQ 100 and S&P 500 track a wide variety of products from industries particularly, right? So that means that with 500 companies, you're going to have a lot of them having how do I call them? Having red days, right? In terms of the companies from which this indexes would represent, right? You can have like NASDAQ 100, there are 100 tech companies. So there are days that, so like last week, we had a whole week actually, where Wall Street was just trade. Now, in such scenarios, you expect NASDAQ to sell, but you're going to notice that when it comes to US 30, not all the companies in NASDAQ can be in what? US 30. And not all the companies in US 30 are doing tech. We have some major big companies in US 30 that are in different sectors, health, beverages, and things like that. So you find that oftentimes the US 30 will not be very correlated based on the zone you're going to, right, to NASDAQ 100 because of that small factor. It's very important. So usually you can correlate NASDAQ with the S&P 500. The range is big, but at least you can be sure that 100 companies in NASDAQ are in the S&P 500 as well. So if you look at this, we have marked these supply levels on the 1 hour time frame. Let's put the 30-minute time frame. We see how intradays can be able to stack into the trades. When you look at the current price action, you're seeing the momentum. Price came and did a sweep or refilled this whole area here. Then now it's going bullish, which means I want to see a breakout at this level here. And then we can expect price to push back in after breaking out. And then shoot us to the area above the other first supply level where you want to see if you can be able to get bearish confirmations. Now this is basically what I'm looking out for on US 30, sorry. Then now you can go and break down and see what's on NAS 100 or US Tech or NASDAQ, some people like to call it. I cannot get into see it also. Sorry guys, I put a wrong abbreviation for this. Okay, here we have NASDAQ. So looking at NAS 100 in the 4-hour time frame, we can see that I mentioned earlier, we had a tech scare last week where we saw a possibility of investors taking their money out of AI development because they aren't yet really profiting because we had earnings come out last week. So here the market comes, forms lower lows, lower highs, then here it comes out with a shift or a push to the upside. So to having that push to the upside, you won't expect price to give you a retracement. Now by default, you don't take that demand level responsible for the breakout, which would have been this demand level here, as you can see. But now remember that usually on a higher time frame, the risk you're going to expose yourself to is high. So first thing I'm going to get my fib tool, mark out this level here, and then I'll drop in a horizontal line on my 50%. So I've done the whole bullish leg. I rarely use that. I'll use this. So I'll then come and mark my 50% level here. So basically what I want is for price to come back below 50%. So the first buy up comes exactly at 50%. Gives us some decent buys, not so bad. They're decent buys, right? Later on what comes back below that 50%, also gets a bit, and then starts pushing to the upside. So it's basically what you want to look out for when it comes to NASDAQ 100. Or what I'm looking out for. I'm also a bit bullish on it, but it's a 1 hour time frame now. When I got the 30-minute time frame, alright, so price comes into this area below that 50%, triggers in some buy opportunities, and then it forms a support level. Then you can tell the levels are being formed, those rejections there, these rejections, they are showing you at some bit of support level. Then after that, the market starts forming a series of highs, lows, higher, high, higher, low, higher, high, higher, low. Then what do you anticipate going on today's market is price forming a new higher low, right? It comes and breaks out to get a new higher low. So you can have a correction, move a little bit, and then continue buying it. At least take profit one can be around the supply levels. Around the supply levels, then of course supply take profit two will be above this previous highs on this other hand. So that's something you want to look out for when it comes to NAS 100 or NASDAQ, as some would like to call it. So that's my perspective on NASDAQ. So in the meantime, I would like to remind you guys that we do offer free classes, both physical and online classes cut across all our locations. That's Kenya, Uganda, and Tanzania. You can be able to sign up for those classes with the link in the description. At the same time, if you want physical classes and you're in Uganda or Tanzania, for Uganda, it's Shomi Building, Lumumba Avenue on the 7th floor. And then for Tanzania, it's Dar es Salaam. It's Dar es Salaam FNB House as well. So you can be able to reach out to those different locations to be able to access our services. Be able to access our services respectively. And once again, as I told you guys earlier, we do have our webinar on the 24th. On the 24th of February, that's next week on Tuesday. We're talking about the dollar direction and how best you can capitalize on it to pick up market opportunities. We do have an interesting guest for you guys. He's called Faiswal, or in Uganda they tend to call him the Funded King. He's very good with when it comes to fundamentals and also looking at risk management, right? He's good with risk management and how to help you with that psychology. So you don't want to miss out on that webinar. Go ahead and sign up for it. If you're in Kenya, we do have the bullish banter event. You don't want to miss out. We actually have a new episode on bullish banter. So you want to check it out in your free time. So we're going for the weekend, right? I don't know what you're going to be doing, but those podcasts are very good. They're very good food for your soul as a trader. You go and learn how to engage with them. But as I was saying, we have an event, in Kenya. So you want to sign up for it with a link in the description as well. Come be there and watch these guys speak about real capital and prop firm capital with a combined experience of over 30 years in the markets. You don't want to miss out on that particular event. So the last question I'm going to take is from Yana. I think she says, do you also teach how to use MT5 for PC? When you check on this YouTube channel, you're going to see a video how to learn forex trading in 2025. In that video, I tend to break down how you can navigate MT5 easily, right? How you can easily navigate MT5. So that's something you can then watch after this. It's an interesting one as well. So other than that, I would like to wish you guys all the best, an amazing weekend. Don't forget to take some time off when you're relaxing and listen to the Bullish Matter podcast as well. So other than that, you guys have a good day and a blessed weekend.